All right, time has come. My favorite segments here. I'm putting Reggie on the hot seat with What Does It Mean, covering all the latest hot topics in Minnesota sports. First up, it's been a while since we chatted. Here's some big news in Minnesota Timberwolves. Blockbuster move over the weekend, trading away Malik Beasley, Patrick Beverly, Walker Kessler, their first-round pick, Jared Vanderbilt, and four first-round picks for All-Star center Rudy Gobert. So, what does it mean for the Wolves' new lineup with this starting five that sounds like this? Rudy Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Edwards, D'Lo, and Jaden McDaniels. Specifically, fans also want to know, too, here, Reggie, second part of this question, how's this going to play out for Cat, who can now move to more of a power forward role and get out of that center position?
You know, there's going all in, and then there's doing what the Wolves did.
Right.
And it's just interesting because you look at, the Nuggets the last several years, and, that's where Tim Connolly, the president of basketball operations, came from. They never really did something like what the Wolves are attempting to do now, which is like, okay, we got these two big dudes, and what are you going to do about it? And it's interesting because there have been a lot of people, for and against this trade. The people that are against the trade say like, well, like that's so much to give up for this guy. And, he's not like a guy that you just think is going to be, this dominant dude. Like he can't guard the perimeter and all this stuff. So this is the thing. Small ball, big ball, like it doesn't matter like what they're trying to do, from an opponent standpoint. The Wolves are like, you're going to get these big bodies and let's see what you can do about it. What's interesting is you look at the Gobert trade, and a lot of people that are for this trade talk about how Rudy was the best defender on the floor there, but he didn't get a whole lot of help. And so he was out on the perimeter a lot, trying to do a little bit more than his bandwidth. And now you look at guys like Ant, you look at guys like Jaden McDaniels, and Cat is much more athletic, than, some of the other bigs, so he can move a little bit. And, Cat likes to stretch the floor anyway. So, like, I don't think you'll see a situation where they're kind of clogging up the middle of the floor and clogging up the paint area. I think this kind of allows, like, a little bit more spacing. A lot of people kind of criticize Cat for taking as many, deep threes and, jump shots as he does. But now this almost kind of gives him a little bit more leeway to do that because you got Rudy in the paint, cleaning up the boards. What I will say is they got bludgeoned in that series against Memphis. I think if they had better rebounding in that series, they win that series, probably 4-2 or something like that. What was tough about those games was they were getting out-rebounded to death, man. Like they were just – the second chance points were there, and then when the Wolves were missing shots, they were not getting the boards and getting another crack at it. So that allowed Memphis to get back into a lot of those games that they ended up ballooning a lead to. And now you talk about a guy who is a rim stuffer, and he's a guy that is a little bit of a rim runner as well. It should be fun, catching lobs from D'Lo or, whoever would throw it up to him. But now you're talking about a guy that if you miss a shot, like he's going to be able to go up there and grab it and get it back to some of the playmakers. And, you talk about better second chance opportunities. And, from a defensive standpoint, you're not going to be able to come in that lane and think it's going to be sweet. Like, you're going to have to meet Rudy there, Stifle Tower vibes. So I think it can work. I'm interested to see how Finch kind of puts it together because, like, when you do see, like, two big men like that, like, I don't know that in today's NBA you really know what that looks like. And there were times, in the playoffs where – the big men were kind of getting played out of the game. But I think what they're banking on is they're just like, look, we're just going to force you to beat us. if you look at that finals series, like the Warriors had a time with the rebounding against Boston, because they weren't even guys that were 7 feet. You're talking about Robert Williams and the like, 6'9", but they were big bodies. So they decided that they needed to keep Kevon Looney in there because they needed a presence that was going to rebound a little bit better than maybe like a Draymond Green if you played a 5-man lineup with him as the 5. And so now you're looking at teams that you're just like, whether or not you play small ball or not, we're about to like get these bigs in your face and see what you can do about it. And you think about it. They give up Malik Beasley. They give up Walker Kessler, who it was just like, dang, he only stayed here long enough to get a cup of coffee. Like, he didn't even experience his first Minnesota winter or anything like that. He didn't even get comfortable, settled. I hope he didn't get an apartment yet or a condo or a house or anything, because he was out before he really got in. Like, that was just kind of crazy. They posted him working out. It was a really, nice feel-good story. Walker Kessler's grandfather played for the Gophers. Now he's going to play for the Timberwolves. It's like, yeah, that's cute. We're out. Patrick Beverly shows up to the introductory press conference with Tim Connolly, and then Tim Connolly is just like, hey, Pat, really appreciate it, but you got to go. Got to go to Utah. And then those 4 first-round picks. Now, look, this is what I'll say about those first-round picks. If the Timberwolves are as good as they hope to be, those first-round picks are not really that great.
Not that valuable.
They're not picking in the lottery. So you're just like, all right, we can live with that. Also, the draft is so hit or miss, man. Like, you look at some
NBA,
of the you look at the first round picks the last 5 years with the Timberwolves. Like, they only really hit on Anthony Edwards. Like, some of the other guys are not. Like, I saw Josh Okogie signed a 1-year contract with the Phoenix Suns. Like, he's gone. He was starting last year. He went from starting to really not even being a rotational guy, within a matter of months last season. And you're talking about a former first-round pick, and now he's, taking a small deal in Phoenix for a year to just kind of, do his thing over there. They're signing him for his defensive prowess, and you're just like, dang, man, that's one down the drain. Andrew Wiggins traded him away. So when you think about, like, yeah, those 4 first-round picks are a little tough to swallow, but if Rudy's 30. You sign Cat to the Supermax. Rudy has 4 more years left on the Supermax he signed last year. And then, you hope to sign Ant when his contract comes up to a Supermax. And now you got your big 3, and you're riding with those guys moving forward. And you just hope that they have enough to really compete in the Western Conference, and those picks really don't mean much over the next 4 years.
The entire NBA, you saw it in the playoffs, going small, like you mentioned. They're zigging while the Wolves are zagging, going bigger. But the facts are this: the Wolves just added the best defensive big man in the NBA, arguably, a top 3 win share per 48 guy without giving up Ant, Cat, Jaden, or D'Lo. So they kept the nucleus, the core, 100% intact. Right. And like you mentioned, I'm a big draft guy, so when I saw those draft picks, I go, ooh, that hurts. But NBA is so much different than the NFL. You're right. Unless you're in those first top 10, 12 picks, it's a crapshoot, man. So, people were excited about Walker Kessler maybe turning into something here eventually a few years down the road. Now you push the chips all in and get a proven all-star and something that you really needed to help Cat along as well. The other big winner, too, I think, is Jaden McDaniels, being able to keep him second best young player on the Timberwolves, in a lot of fans' opinion, lockdown defender. He's now the starter at the 3, I think, with this trade, and he's going to be putting the spotlight for sure on the wing next to Anthony Edwards. More McDaniels is definitely a good thing in Minnesota. He needs to develop a little bit more of his game. We know maybe
work
a little
on that
bit
jump
more,
shot.
Yeah, catch and shoot 3 kind of guy, but being able to keep him, I think, was a big part of this trade as well. Last one real quick as we wrap up before we go. We haven't talked about this all week. I haven't seen you. The big thing that fans are worried about, outside of the draft picks, I guess, is the depth. When it gets into the playoffs, all of a sudden, not a ton of depth on this roster, it feels like, anymore. Hey, the starting 5 is phenomenal. That gets people excited, puts people in the seats, but the depth's a concern. Also, The contract and cap situation, it's starting to look a little murky here because Towns just signed $244 million contract extension. Gobert makes $170 over the next 4 years. You know, Ant and his Supermax contract's right around the corner. And D'Lo's kind of clogging this whole thing up, making $30 million here too. What worries you more, the lack of depth, especially as you try to make a playoff run, or just the future and the cloudiness over it, knowing that we're kind of pushing a lot of chips all in here, and this year or maybe 2 seasons are going to kind of be deep into the playoffs or bust, finals or bust? That cap situation looks a little murky. What worries you a little bit more?
So, funny enough, I'm actually not all that worried. This whole situation with the depth, like, will figure itself out. Like, they've signed a couple guys, and they'll try to utilize those guys as depth. They really are banking on the development of Jalen Noel and Naz Reid as well. Naz Reid, great guy off the bench, man. Like, he's just an energy guy. He can pop a 3 every now and again as well. Like, great guy. Like, I love Naz Reid's game. Like, he just comes in, gives you quality minutes. And really, D'Lo's on this is an expiring deal now, with this 1 year left on it. And now you're like, well, okay, at the end of that, do you sign him to maybe a shorter term deal, until you have to like lock up Ant? Or do you just kind of let him walk, get some type of like complimentary piece that is not very expensive, and have that person play the point guard position? But I don't. It's interesting because you see teams with a strapped cap, just kind of sign, players to these vet minimum deals, these mid-level exception deals. And that's probably what you're going to see with this Wolves team moving forward. And they hope to be relevant. Like, the terrible thing is if, they make this deal for this trade and then, they're a middling franchise. They're not, in it. But I think they hope to be probably like 4 or 5 seed or higher, moving forward for the rest of Rudy's time in Minnesota. And you just hope to see that they are competitive, and then you just kind of do what you can at the point guard position because you can't afford to keep D'Lo and pay Ant as well.
Yeah, a lot of good points there for sure. Here's the facts. Wolves have not advanced into the second round of the playoffs since 2004. Tim Connelly was brought in to shake things up, and this may seem like a big, bold move, very risky, mortgaging the future, but what they've been doing the last 2 decades hasn't been working. They got a real shot again to, if nothing else, be a lot more exciting, put some more fans in the seat here with this, oh my gosh, fun, exciting starting 5 lineup, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Plenty more to break down all week.